Tim. Hi guys, long time no see, so I really don't have much to say. Answer any questions. Just a couple quick general comments about very satisfied with where we're at right now. A year ago this time we were getting ready to start our 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., whatever it was, conversations outside after people were late for meetings. We're still trying to finalize our staff, and we had a group of offensive linemen that we really didn't have much confidence in and trust in, and so a year later, a lot of good positive things. We got to get a lot better in a lot of areas. However, it's just a whole different approach, and that's, our mantra is going to be truth, and our mantra is going to be fundamental improvement. Truth means exactly, you have a good season and there's a lot of conversation about things that really shouldn't be discussed because it's not true. For example, are you guys going to go do this next year? No, we're probably not unless we get a lot better, like a lot better. And then fundamentally, we are not where we need to be. And the biggest thing, I was fortunate enough to be at the championship game, and I think probably the best fundamental team that I certainly seen this year won that game. And that's with leverage. That's with tackling, blocking, tackling, and all the things that how you win football games. So a lot to be done. The next 3 weeks obviously is going to be a very strong emphasis on closing a very good class at this time where we like our class. Usually, not usually as with most classes, how you finish is what determines if you love the class. And you got to hold on to there's a lot of chaos right now with new staff, new coaches, trying to take your players and all that kind of stuff. So we just got to keep recruiting our players and get going. We have some new players in the program that started. I'm allowed to announce this, right? Tracy Sprinkle is on campus. Cam Burrows, Eli Apple, Taekwon Lewis, and J.T. Barrett. William Houston and Devin Hill. Those are two young men that are walk-ons that are joined our team, and they're active in our off-season program. So that's answer any questions for you.
Steve? Yeah, Coach Steve Hellwagon, Bucknuts 24/7. Just what was your overall feeling being on the field at that game? I'm sure part of it was something you brought back to these guys to say, hey, we've got to get there next year. You've coached that game before, but just this time around, what did you get from being down there?
I just don't know. For me to say we have to get there next year, I mean, that's like talking about we have to go fly to the moon. We're nowhere near even have that conversation. That's not. What we really have to do, we have to find out who can play defensive line for us. You lost some really good players because who we have at their current status, what they are right now, we won't. To have that conversation, you just got to win that first game. Because, we're going to have conversation. Matter of fact, we have a team meeting today. The way you termed it won't be termed, but there'll be some conversation where we need to improve. And there'll be a target. And I'm not saying that's a target yet either, because that's not fair to put them, there's some guys who can't do that at their physical stature right now. If they improve, then we'll have that conversation at the appropriate time.
Right in front, Austin Ward, ESPN.com. Irvin, aside from not having those practices during the bowl season, the last 6 weeks, would you consider it a success, or how would you evaluate keeping the staff together? I think Bradley said he was going to return. He had some good things mixed in there.
The last 6 weeks, most importantly, fundamentally as a football team, we really improved. Defensively, Jerry did a good job putting together a little statistical analysis of we were one of the better defenses in the country. What we did, obviously, a very, very good Wisconsin team. Obviously, the second half of the game against our rival, there was some excellent football being played, certainly on the defensive side of the ball, and that takes into consideration where it was in the first half of the season. The fact that our coaching staff remains intact is important. We had 4 guys that had some, people trying to discuss, head coaching opportunities for them, and I hope that happens for some of them. I'm kind of glad it doesn't happen after just 1 year. After 2 years, I always ask for just a 2-year commitment. I think that's fair, and so it's good. So I'm very pleased. The last 6 weeks have been very productive. We've gotten some commitments from some very good players. But once again, until it's signing date, we'll know that they're part of the family.
You referenced the recruiting aspect of it. I know you can't talk specifics, but with this SEC run that they're on, there's all this talk that the skill position players in the Southeast, the Midwest can't keep up. You've recruited some of both. Do you think that that's fair to say that the Southeast skill position players are far ahead of the Midwest?
I think the Southeast right now, the quantity is far greater than the quantity of the upper level Midwestern schools. To say that there's, the NFL draft shows you that there'll be some very good players drafted, the numbers I imagine, and this is just speculation, but I'm coaching both conferences now, so it's really not speculation anymore. It's an opinion that it's just the quantity is far greater right now. And so it's up to the Big Ten to change that. And there's one way to do it, go out and recruit and get some more depth. But to say there's not quality football players in the Big Ten, that's not correct. And you'll see that on draft day. I mean, there'll be some very good players drafted. The quantity is the biggest difference.
Ken? Tim Mike, Columbus Dispatch. Urban, a couple questions. Number one, how far does JT Barrett, from a rehab situation, what kind of condition is he in right now? And just maybe update that a little bit.
I'm hoping he brings a little something that our quarterback position can use, and that's a grinder, a guy that's just nonstop. The Alex Smiths of the world that they wake up in the morning or quarterback all day long, they go to sleep, and the next day they wake up again, they're the quarterback all day long. So if he can provide that, he's a talented guy. He had ACL surgery, so he'll be limited as far as contact, but from everything I'm hearing, he'll be able to, throw and do the off-season program, not the running part. But I'm not worried about him doing that part.
We asked you about Alabama a while ago. As you watch them Monday night, can you quantify where you guys have to get to match something?
Well, this is interesting, and I said this on TV. He said A&M beat them. Georgia could have beat them. LSU could have beat them. And they soundly won the national championship, so that tells you a little bit about, that conference. Where are we? I don't like to deal in speculation. I think we're a very good team that could compete with any team in the country. I didn't feel that way early in the year, even the middle of the year. But the last game, I even said that after the season. That's where I believe we are. To say that we can roll in there and beat a team like that, first of all, I don't want to speculate. And then if I was going to give you an honest answer right now, I think we have too many holes to fill.
And following up on that, Bradley Roby said he's coming back. Jonathan Hankins left. Do you have assurances from everyone else that they're back and solid and going to be around? And what does Roby coming back mean to the defense? I mean, that would have been 8 guys instead of 7.
Well, it solidifies an area of our team that I think Roby, when he's playing his best, he's as good as corners as in college football. I think he's got a brilliant career ahead of him. I think he's still a young player that has to develop in some areas. So it just it stabilized the guy that if we to lose Roby and Travis, guys that played very well for us this year. Travis had a really good year. One of the most improved. As I've had a chance on the iPad to sit and rewatch stuff, he was one of our most improved players. So some stability in the back end. You have the 2 safeties back now, and you have Roby. So that's 3 out of 4. It's stable. Or our D-line is not stable, and our linebacker position is not stable. So if you throw the back end in that, then we're dealing with an unstable defense. And so it's just big. That's big. Plus, I love Roby. I love who he is. He's got a tremendous family. He's a guy that you like showing his face when you talk about Ohio State football. I mean, he's everything that you want. A good person, goes to school, takes care of his business, and represents the right way, and he's a very talented guy.
Front left, Doug Lamorese, Cleveland Dealer. Urban, you talked about building this recruiting class. You like where it's headed so far. Just how different is it compared to what you were trying to do a year ago? You were coming in late and finishing that class, and do you see the effects of having a very good first year? What's that done for this class?
Yeah, it's called Flavor of the Month. Ohio State really wasn't the flavor of the month a year ago. There's some really quality guys that came. Noah Spence is obviously the key name that was jumped on board last year. But I don't want to say we're selecting, not recruiting, because that's not correct either, but it's just a completely different, approach. We know everybody we recruited last year was just give me the top 20 guys in positions, and I was on the phone with them trying to get them. Here we know, we've been in the schools, we know who they are, we know what we're getting. So just a much different approach, and I do like where we're at.
You had mentioned after the season you really wanted to honor this team in this building, and that 12-0 team picture is up there already. The end of the hallway.
Yeah, I want by some days them seeing there's a new one right when you come out of the, I don't know if you guys have access to that. At some point down there's a hallway, we put a whole wall in for tribute of them, and then also in the other, there's going to be 2 walls devoted to those guys. Also, when you walk in the the trophy room of the Woody Hayes, there's a banner that says undefeated season. When you walk in the indoor facility where it says the national championships, there'll be, obviously it wasn't a national championship, but it's going to say an undefeated season. So there's going to be my history with players, and they like that. They like to come in and bring their children, bring their families in, and say Dad was a part of that or I was a part of that. So we tried to do the best we could. And they will get rings. The rings have been ordered. I'm not sure when they get those.
And for a successful college coach, we've seen it both with Chip Kelly this offseason, Brian Kelly this offseason, interviewing with NFL teams. Just what's it like when you're at the top at this level, and there is that next level, there is that NFL allure? What's it like for, if you're in that position, being a successful college coach and that being out there?
Well, probably we're humans, and so I'd say I don't want to speak on behalf of Chip, but it's flattering probably. You probably, a guy like that would say that you're always looking for challenges, not that the Pac-12 and Oregon, because he's got his hands full every week. So I'd say any time that situation does show up, you kind of take a look and then, then you move on. If it is something that is really appealing to you, you see what happens, and that's what's going on now, I guess, when guys start interviewing for jobs and listening. But I can't speak on behalf of them because I've never talked to them about it.
Did you get a call?
No.
Nope. Right over here, Jeff.
Just Sports Bulletin. Just talking to some fans here since the national championship game, they do have the question, what can Ohio State do to catch Alabama? I mean, it's almost like a one-program thing. I'm just wondering, as coaches, do you ever think about, what can we do to catch one program, or is it more just sort of the general get better every day, 10 better?
24/7, every second of our life. Yeah, we're trying, I wouldn't say just catch them, but I just told you A&M beat them. And I've watched that game a bunch. And I have I went and watched Oregon against Kansas State. I think those are 2 of the finest programs in America. We got to go catch them. Everybody's trying to catch the best. Some people are probably trying to catch us. So I think that's one thing. That's probably say the thing that there's certain things that coaches really dislike. There's other things that coaches love and savor and really, and that's that. There's nothing else I'd rather do than watch these other programs and kind of figure out how they're doing it. How do we get that or do that, or how do we beat that? And, I think Alabama is certainly the national champion, but there's some really good teams out there that do some really things that kind of fit what we do. And we're in the process of doing that right now.
Left, Matt.
Matt McCoy with you. And, I know you can't get back the practices you didn't get for a goal, but without them, does it make anything more important? Is anything different this off-season and also in spring ball? Do you change anything because of that loss?
Well, I already did change a bunch during the fall. We did a lot more things with the young players that maybe I wouldn't have done if I knew I had the bowl practice. But the way I look at it, we have to catch 15 practices by August, or we're not as good as our rivals. We're not as good as our teams that we have to beat. And so we have to find those, and I've had multiple meetings with our strength coach. There's going to be areas set up throughout the indoor facility where they can go out there and get their extra work in. Obviously, the football position, the fundamentals of tackling, fundamentals of leverage, those are the things that you don't do that by sitting on a bench press. But a lot of it they have to do on their own. But we're going to make it user-friendly. And the great thing about this facility is you got the weight room, you walk out 5 steps and you're in an area where you can go do that. Some places you have to walk 15 minutes and it's non-functional. So we're going to, I don't know, I'll let you know by August, but we have, and I'm going to meet today, we have 15 practices to make up. And we're not legally allowed to have a whistle around our neck and coach you. So if you want to be a very functional football team, there has to be some self-driven leadership amongst groups and collect those 15 practices. And it'll be interesting to see how it gets done. Because it's on the players. The coaches can't force them to do it.
Front row, Rusty.
Rusty Miller, AP. A year ago, you said, just referenced that a little while ago, that you didn't really know a year ago what to expect when it came to recruiting. A lot of people didn't know what to expect from Ohio State at that point. Like 5 minutes after the game ended Monday night, immediately people were coming out saying, oh boy, Ohio State, they're going to be really good, top 5 or whatever. Does that work against what you're trying to do with the players when people are kind of telling them, or they see perhaps how good everybody thinks they're going to be?
Does it work against it? No, I'd rather be that than saying we're not going to be very good, and, you know. So those people say, would you rather be the underdog or the favorite? We'd love to be the favorite all the time. That means we've got a good team. So no, I don't mind that. But that's where, you know, it's very important to us to have a real, I told you the mantra is going to be the truth. And they're going to get the truth in about, 2:30 this afternoon. And the truth is we're very strong in certain areas. We've made great strides in certain areas. Some are phenomenal. I mean, there was some phenomenal improvement in performances this year. However, there were quite a few that were below average performances. So we got to get those fixed. And the saying is, if it's strong, enhance it and make it even stronger. If it's weak, fix it. And so that's where that word truth comes back
Time
in
for
the
a couple
play.
more. Back right, play.
Coach, you were quoted, maybe incorrectly, that you didn't think many Big Ten teams recruited the South. Is that still?
I never said that.
No. Do you see more of your rivals now when you're out and about? Or is your staff?
In the South?
In the South.
I don't know that. I look at rosters quite a bit. There's quite a few Southern players on Purdue and some other rosters. I noticed that. I think just the number, right now you're looking at, once again, I got to make this clear. It's not in my opinion, everybody has their own opinions, the quality is not the difference. There's some great quality players, but you're seeing just the quantity because of population shifts and everything else. There's more of them. And year to year that changes. There's certain years where the state of Pennsylvania is just loaded, and then other years they're maybe not. Same with New Jersey, same with the Eastern Seaboard. So, but I imagine the entire country is recruiting. You start going to Texas and some of those areas are just the masses of players are there.
Last question, Brandon.
Middle coach, you said last year that you talked about the wide receivers being one of the most unprepared groups that you've been around. What are your expectations? What do you want to see from Braxton and the receivers, I guess, this offseason?
Yeah, monumental, not monumental, probably not the right word, drastic improvement. We still are not, we're much better than we were, but we weren't where we need to be. We're still not. And Braxton's a great young man, and Kenny Guyton, and they really improved. And I'm looking forward to another, and they'll tell you that we're looking for another giant step. I asked them to make a tremendous step. I remember I told you, if they show up in August without working in the summer, and the great thing is they did. But you can tell how much further we still need to jump. So I'm expecting a big jump again. And if they big jump again, I think we're getting pretty close to where we need to be.
Perfect. Can I ask you one last thing? You
It's up to Jerry.
You lost some big-time leaders from this team, like a Zach Warren,
Sure did.
John Simon. Who do you see emerging? Do you have your eye on a couple of guys that you think could fill that? Because that would seem to be a big void going into the...
Huge void. That's a great question. And Jordan Hall returning is a tremendous boost because he was elected captain last year. I'm looking for C.J. Barnett and Christian Bryant to step up. Guys that I'm already had conversation with that have not been in that situation, but now they are, and that's Philly Brown and Carlos Hyde. Jack Mehort is already there. He's already a leader, so we're asking him to take over a position that maybe a Simon took, and that's the overall heart. I mean, I love him, and he's a tough guy. Shazier's a name that has always been kind of that young linebacker. Guess what? He's not a young linebacker, and he's earned it. He played very well through injuries the last half. So that question right there occupies a lot of my and Mickey Marotti's time and thought. And the good thing is we get to reevaluate, and we started Monday. So we're in the evaluation phase of who can fulfill those roles. Because that was, to make no doubt about it now, that was a huge part of us this successful season. It was the leadership of a John Simon, but it's also the developed leadership of a Zach Boren, of a Goebel, Sabino, and many others. Thank you.